You got called a negro.
Racism is okay sometimes.
Can a non-white person be British?
When it comes to ethnonationalism, I actually agree with 97% of their views. The British Empire, for the most part, was inherently good. Socialism, Marxism, Islamism, LGBTQism.
Stand up to racism. There's a common denominator. They're all white.
Someone was screaming and shouting in my face and basically called me a house negro.
Was he calling you a slave?
Calling me the N-word, trying to strangle me.
Attack physically?
They want to stand up to racism but call people the N-word. They believe in free speech but get angry if you ask a question. They're just a bunch of hypocrites. Something very, very dark is coming. The world is laughing at us. The fact that someone can swear on the Quran in Parliament is insane to me. We've officially been colonized.
Do you think the left hate you because you're a wholesome Christian or because you're black? For the last year, I've been working with Ryan from Change, and now they're sponsoring our channel so we can keep bringing you these conversations. Change are the #1 mentoring program that teaches you e-commerce step by step where no previous experience is necessary. Whilst working with Change, I've seen life-changing money be made and community members free up more time to spend with their families. A successful business is not built overnight, and you would need to put in the work before reaping the rewards. The more you put in, the more you get out. The community are full of like-minded people, all striving for success and all willing to help each other. Change offer one-on-one training, online courses and group seminars so you get all the support you need to succeed. If you're looking for a new opportunity, get in touch with Ryan via Instagram at RyanJB and he'll take you through all the steps to building your own successful business. Based and Bougie, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, good to see you. Crazy times out there. We've got a lot of ethno-nats are very vocal on social media and they've now taken to the streets and they're actually coming up to people like you personally telling you that you're going home. They're going to they're going to deport you to the Congo. What's your thoughts on that? Because it can't be nice being approached in the street being told you're going home, especially the fact that you've assimilated, you contribute, you're very popular online and offline. So it blows my mind. It must do yours. Yeah.
Well, to all the ethno-nats who wants to see me deported, respectfully suck your mum because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. This is my home. And I know that makes people uncomfortable to hear that an African person is saying this is their home, but it is my home. I've never argued with the fact that indigenously this is not my home. I've never argued with the fact that in terms of my ancestors, this is not my home. I am Congolese. But if we're talking about culturally, and where I've been raised and where I've been born, this is absolutely my home and I'm not going anywhere. And I will continue to defend it till the death of me. I mean, this country has given me everything in education, safety, the ability to be educated. I mean, half of the things I have here in the UK, I wouldn't even have half of that where my parents are from. So whoever's offended by the fact that I love this country and I defend this country and I'm patriotic about this country, you can suck your mum, because what is there to actually be angry about? Why are you angry that I love the country that you're defending? I could care less, honestly. And not only that, I think people need to understand that only maybe less than 10% of the actual population are on X. So it's not really a reflection of how people actually feel. And when I do go out on the streets and in protest, this is not to toot my own horn and act like I'm Beyonce or something, but I do get a lot of support and people are very thankful because they do understand that I don't have to do this. Like, I'm a black person, I don't have to do this. I feel like these days there's this separation of communities, the black community here, the English community here. You don't need to mix, you don't need to speak for other issues and communities. And I don't, follow that concept. So a lot of people are thankful of that because they see that I don't have to do this, but I choose to do this. And I do this because I definitely feel like this movement is a calling from God to protect, a set of values that were founded by Christian values. So yeah, suck your mum.
I've never had someone say that on the podcast. Suck your mum. There you go.
I mean, they say vile things to me, so suck your mum is probably nothing.
Well, no, yeah, they do say vile things to you. I've seen it in shock because I know what you contribute towards the country and your fellow neighbour. So, why do you think the blood and soil theory should be challenged? If you're born and bred here and you're white, you're indigenous, you've got every right to stay. I mean, which obviously makes sense. But if you're not, despite the fact you've assimilated, you contribute far more than some of the blood and soil lot. Why should you go and they stay?
Well, I don't believe in that theory because as someone who actually actively goes out and actually does the work and actually asks the questions and goes to the debates and goes to the protests, not like these ethnonats who just sit on the internet thinking that they can save England by typing on the screen. But a lot of the people who are actually causing the destruction of this country are actually indigenously English. I'm so sorry to say this. Let's start with the fact that most of the people that I see standing outside of hotels saying refugees are welcome here, they're indigenously English. I've had English girls and men tell me to my face that being British is inherently bad and it's evil. And I've had to sit there and tell them there's nothing wrong with you. What your ancestors done is great. You know, let's also start with like the police officers and the lawyers who contributed they contributed when it came to covering up the grooming scandal. Most of them were white people. Let's not even talk about the government. You know, people think borders just open themselves. No, somebody has to unlock the key. The people who done that, they're indigenously English. So I would never argue against the fact that a person who is indigenously English should stay in the country because at the end of the day, this is their soil. You know, their ancestors barely fought for me. They fought for them. And it's a bit sad to see them now going against what their ancestors fought. But I don't believe in this idea that anyone who is non-English is inherently causing some kind of harm to the country. Yes, we do see that. We see it with knife crime amongst Black people. We see it with, the Pakistani grooming gangs. We see it. But people need to be very, very careful when it comes to generalizing. Like generalizing communities, it's not Christian. Like it's just not. And I refuse to do that. It's like me generalizing every white person as a Nazi because of a couple of ethno-Nats who said horrible things to me. I'm not going to do that. So, and for all the ethno-Nats who want to kick out people out of the country simply due to their skin color, you do realize you're still going to come across the same issue, just a different skin color. And this time it's going to be the same skin color as you because you have a huge amount of people who don't believe in British values, who believe in socialism, Marxism, who want to see more Islam, who want to see more LGBTQ. So what are you fighting? You know what I mean?
Well, also, not to separate us, but, you know, we're having this discussion, this debate, I'm going to play devil's advocate a lot during this interview. Mm-hmm. But we've got enough of our own scumbags. We've got our own rapists and murderers. It's like, well, you haven't assimilated and you've got no excuse. You're born and raised here and you've got like tens of generations before you and you still haven't worked out how to behave in a decent fashion. Whereas you do. I mean, you fight against the people that are very poor for society and culture and unity. So you got called a negro.
Yes.
But you got called a negro by somebody that was standing up to racism. So I need you to tell me how the fuck that works.
Absolutely diabolical.
Is that an oxymoron or is racism okay sometimes?
It's okay. In stand up to racism eyes and sometimes Black people's eyes, racism is okay sometimes, but at the same time they're on the streets saying end racism completely. But basically what happened is we had the Christmas march and I found out there was going to be a counter march and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what on earth is racist about Christmas. So upon me being there, not even 1 minute of me being there, someone was screaming and shouting in my face and basically called me a house Negro. Now, what's so diabolical about that is that he was holding a sign that says stand up to racism. If you're really standing up to racism, you should not be using the N-word at all. Second of all, if for people who don't understand, house Negro basically means is the Black person who does the dirty work for the white man. And for me, it's just, Liam, feel free to let the audience know, have I been paid by anyone to do this? Do you know me being a part of any agency? Do you know me having any management or being a part of any establishment to do this? Are you aware of this?
Well, I know what you do and exactly. I'm grateful for your work. Yeah. I think you're fucking great.
Exactly.
I know you go above and beyond. You put yourself in very awkward situations for the greater good and you're very pro-Britain.
Yeah.
And we've got white people in the country that aren't pro-Britain.
Exactly.
So I'd much rather have you than them.
Yeah.
They can fuck off. They can fuck off back to the Congo.
Don't let them hear that because they will say you have to come with me to Congo. But anyways, and what was also diabolical about that was the fact that, this idea of me being used by the white man, I would rather be used by the white man, even though I'm not, to promote patriotism, nationalism, British values, Christianity, than to be like every other black person, I'm so sorry to say this, who's being used by the white man to promote degeneracy and rap music and drill music and having women twerking and fighting in shows. Like, I am so proud to be used by the white man. So when people say that to me, it doesn't offend me. But at the same time, I think it was a good way of exposing just the hypocrisy of stand up to racism. They've actually blocked me on Instagram, by the way, but they are always being so hypocritical, meaning they want to stand up to racism but call people the N-word. They believe in free speech but get angry if you ask a question. They want to bring more migrants but refuse to actually house the migrants when you ask them. They start blaming it on climate change. They're just a bunch of hypocrites.
I've never heard the phrase house Negro before. So essentially, was he calling you a slave?
Yeah, basically, that's what he was calling me. He was saying that I don't have a mind of my own and that someone is pulling the strings and telling me what to do. And if that's not racist, I don't know what that is. I just want to make it abundantly clear, with me joining this movement, whether you want to call it the patriotic movement, the UTK movement, no one has ever told me how to think. Everyone has always told me, you do what you want to do. Even, you know, my own friends who support me in this movement, they've always encouraged me, you do what you want to do. If you experience racism, you experience it. If you want to leave, you leave. I do this out of my own free will. And I want to make it very clear, I have a very comfortable life outside of my journalism. I have a very cushy life. I have a very happy life. So I don't need to do this, but I do this because I need to do this. This is bigger than just me. This is bigger than just, oh, someone said a bunch of hurty words on the internet. This is for your children, my children. You know, something very, very dark is coming. That could be, you know, liberalism, that could be socialism, that could be Islamism, that could be Marxism. These are very demonic ideologies, and I'll push back against it every time. Yeah,
and those ideologies they're growing. And I think the ethnonats, I can see they've got a point. They don't want to be replaced. But you have got to see who adds value and who doesn't add value. And I think it's, I mean, I think that the vast majority of the country should be white, indigenous, so that we don't lose our identity and we remain the dominant race, because, you know, that's our heritage.
100%.
But for me personally, I welcome any race of human being that comes along and actually contributes and assimilates and makes the country a better place. And you sit firmly in that bracket. Well, anybody that follows your work, they won't be able to deny that. And hopefully this will make them think, okay, maybe this whole everyone has to fuck off back home theory, it's not going to work. Yeah. And it's a net positive to have people that come into the country that respect it and love it, especially people from other countries that come in and they're so grateful to be here that they really go above and beyond to contribute more than some of the lazy, jobless Fnats that
do nothing,
that get up to no good.
Literally. And this is the thing when it comes to ethno-nationalism. I actually agree with 97% of their views. That's the craziest thing. I agree that the British should not be demographically replaced. There's no denying that somebody out there is being instrumental in trying to replace them. And I believe that every person is made in the image and likeness of God. So nobody should be trying to, you know, be instrumental in replacing anyone. I do believe that this country should be 90% English because every other country is 90% the indigenous people. I do believe that the indigenous people should be able to make up majority of those in higher powers. And if you are going to be someone who is non-English and is going to be in a high position in government, you have to have proven yourself for decades to put this country first before your own indigenous country. So I agree with 90% of their views. What I don't agree with is you sitting on the internet. That's the problem I have with a lot of the ethno-nationalists. They do nothing.
No, I know.
When it's time to actually come out and do the dirty work and roll up their sleeves, they do nothing. And the nerve of them to constantly attack Tommy Robinson and say, Tommy Robinson's a traitor. No, you're the traitor because you're sitting behind and doing nothing. Do you really think your ancestors were sitting behind and writing poems about their thoughts and feelings with a feather pen? No, they went out, they fought the fight. That's why the British Army was the most feared army at some point, because they went out and they did what needed to be done. Some of these ethno-nationalists, I'm so sorry, they don't do that. They just sit on their screens and actually think that they're going to save England by just typing deportation out. For example, Steve Laws. Steve Laws turns into Stevie Wonder when it's actually time to go out and do something with the country. We never see him anywhere. So that's one thing I will always call out. I don't care if it's a far leftist or if it's someone from the far right. I'm happy to call out any hypocrisy that I see.
I'll tell you what, Steve Laws won't like being called Stevie Wonder.
He turns blind when it's time to protect his people.
Well, the fact that he's a black man.
Don't let him hear that. He'll put you on the deportation list.
What about the Union Jack? I mean, that's been coined a symbol of racism. What are your thoughts on the Union Jack? I mean, I've just come back from Harlow this weekend, and every lamppost you see has got a Union. It looks beautiful. Union Jack, St George's. People are proud of their country, and there's like a bit of a rebirth of the flag. People are seeing now that it's just insane. I'm even having to say this.
I know.
To think that it's a symbol of racism when it's, it's our identity that we've been flying high for centuries. But now all these left liberals that you challenge, they don't like the flag. But what are your thoughts on the flag?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's the most beautiful flag in the world, especially when it's all gathered together at protests and rallies. When you see the red, white and blue, absolutely stunning. But I think the flag is more than just a flag. It's more than just a fabric. I think it's a Christian symbol. If you look at all the crosses, they're a symbol of Christ, there's a symbol of saints, there's a symbol of Christian figures who have actually pushed Christianity to the forefront and in turn made the world actually a better place. But I think the reason why people demonize the flag is because of the British Empire. And I'm someone who has studied the empire since I was like 17. And I'm not just studying what my teachers taught me. I've been reading books about this, documentaries about this. I've asked questions about this. And the British Empire, for the most part, was inherently good. I mean, everything we have today, whether it's our legal system, whether it's our governments, whether it's the way we do business, whether it's women's rights, they literally, don't think people understand that the British Empire was inherently good. People have this idea in their mind that, a lot of these countries that Britain colonized, whether it's Africa or Asia, was just this Wakanda. No, there was a lot of barbaric pagan practices going on. And it was the British that put an end to that. And they brought more peace and stability to these countries. So I think that's why people hate the Union Jack, because they attach it to the small little situations that happened during the empire where millions was killed. And that's the thing, like, no one has ever said this was a good thing. No one has ever said slavery was good. No one has ever said going into, villages and R-wording women was ever good. But if we're talking about whether it was more good than bad, it definitely was more good, because we are literally still all living and benefiting off of everything that the British Empire built.
Yeah, going back to stand up to racism, and I'll put some context before I ask you the question. Now, when I see those protesters, there's a common denominator. They're all white. So they're standing up to racism. I don't see any black people standing up to racism, because I don't think many black people see racism. I think they see people shouting about it, but actually visibly seeing it. I certainly don't see... I see racism on the internet, but not out and about, because people know that when you're out and about, you get a punch on the nose for that kind of behaviour. So do you think the left hate you because you're a wholesome Christian or because you're black?
I think it's both. I think they just can't stand the fact that I'm a black woman who refuses to give into their silly, dumb, retarded ideology. Liam, what can you do that I can't do in this country? There's nothing you can't do. We can both work. We can both go to a court. We can both use the same bathroom. We can both use the same fountain. What are we sitting here complaining and crying racism about?
I can't perm my hair. You can.
Yeah. So it's just, I think that's
black privilege.
So that's something that they can't stand. They can't stand seeing black people who think for themselves. And that's why they go and they attack people, whether it's, calling me the N-word, whether it's trying to strangle me in my Union Jack. They did that at a pro-Palestine march, which was absolutely insane.
Are you attacked physically?
Yeah, physically. So I went to a pro-Palestine march and I wore the Union Jack. The plan was to be there for at least half an hour, ask people questions. Not even 4 minutes in, my cameraman was attacked. 2 people tried to grab me like 3 times, my Union Jack, because I had it tied up, tried to grab it from the back. So there was a point where I was literally being strangled for like 3 seconds.
Oh shit, you had it tied around your neck?
Yeah. And not only that, they tried to steal my phone. I had to run after it. Like, it was just absolute chaos. And do you know what? This is why I'm not shocked that nationalism is on the rise and hardcore nationalism and ethnonationalism is on the rise, even though I don't agree with some of their views, because it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to be in this country, exercising the rights that this country has given you to protest in the country's soil, but yet attacking the flag of the country, I would be angry too. If I was an Indigenous English person, I would be angry too. I would be saying they all need to go. I don't think it's right. But it gets to a point where it's just like, why are people actually taking the absolute mick out of this country and disrespecting it? If it wasn't for this country, you wouldn't even have the right to protest for Palestine. So, sorry, to go back to the question, I just think they hate the fact that I refuse to conform to their stupidity, and I like to think for myself.
So you've been doing this for a while.
Yes.
You've been campaigning for the country. You've been challenging Marxism, communism, the loony left. And obviously now you've got the Fnats on your case as well. But then again, so have I, because I'm not racist. And I'm somewhere between Civnat and Fnat, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm certainly further right of Civnat, I think. But you can't be wrong and strong, and you've got to be firm but fair, I believe.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of nuance, and it is complicated, and the country is in such a shit state that I'm in a position now where I can see everyone's
point of view.
Yeah, and it's just interesting to get under the bonnet of. But going back to the left, you've been doing this a while. Would you say they're becoming more extreme? And is it now time to identify them as being dangerous?
They are most definitely coming extreme. I mean, look what happened to Donald Trump. Look what happened to Charlie Kirk. Look what they're doing to all these small activists, you know, whether it's calling people's workplaces and trying to get them fired from their jobs, whether it's throwing eggs at people, whether, I'm not sure if you saw what happened with Montgomery Toms and his friend William. They literally flipped the table on them and literally attacked him and bit William's arm. So what they're doing, yes, they are definitely becoming extreme, but the reason why they're doing that is because the government and the establishment is allowing them to. They know there will be no consequences when they do things like this. For example, when I got attacked for wearing the Union Jack, mind you, I was attacked, but yet there was like 10 policemen surrounding me and saying that I was disrupting the peace or whatever the saying is. And so, yeah, the reason why they're allowed to do that is because the establishment and the police allow them to, and they allow them to because it's becoming very, very clear that they are trying to turn this country into a socialist, Marxist state. And how else do you do that? You do that by ensuring that every single person's beliefs, customs, cultures is completely eradicated so that you can create this even playing field and make it very, very easy for anyone and everyone to be indoctrinated into their demonic beliefs.
Yeah, complete state control.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that very ideology. I mean, Keir Starmer, that's what he wants. That's what he is. That's who he is.
Exactly.
Fucking rat.
Exactly. And look at, you know, he's happy for China to build this $1 billion embassy in the UK. Why does China need an embassy the size of Buckingham Palace in the UK? And why is he happy for that? Do you think Putin will allow the UK to open an embassy that size? It's clear that he loves socialism. It's clear that he loves Marxism. And, you know, anyone who is still voting Labour, there's something terribly wrong with you, or still supporting Labour, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, that's a good thing to put on record, that if you, by now, if you're still voting Labour, that there's some kind of
deficiency,
mental problem going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all of the like the sex cases that surround Labour, all the links and all the noncery that's entwined within that party. Mandelson, the other guy, and Starmer promoting people knowing that they're friends with a convicted paedophile. I mean, this is the Prime Minister of our country making decisions like that.
Exactly. I literally made a tweet and said, you cannot be born again and still be supporting Labour. If you don't know what born again means, is when you get like baptised and you become born again Christian. You can't, because with everything that you've seen Labour do, what is there to support? You're only supporting your own demise. But I think the reason why you still have people supporting Labour is because most people are too lazy to actually go out and read the news, read articles, read transcripts, read court cases and actually see what are these people, what are they getting up to, and does this align with our conservative Christian values?
Yeah, and I think because, you know, there are a lot of lazy layabouts, I mean, world over, but I think the lazy layabouts in the UK would be quite happy for the state to control their life because it means that they're accountable for a lot less. Yeah,
not me. I'm so sorry. And this is why I want people to understand, nowhere in Christianity does it promote socialism. If you read the Bible, especially the book of Proverbs, the Proverbs encourages people to go out and work, use your arms, use your legs, be proactive. You know, God gave us this beautiful creation, this beautiful planet. Go out and reproduce it and continue what God has already created. Whereas when you just sit there and you just allow the state to do anything and everything for you, you're not being productive in your life. You're not. And that's not Christian at all. So I want to make it very, very clear that Christ was not a socialist. Not socialist. I don't want to sit here and say he's a capitalist because I'm sure he barely cares about money. But Christ encourages hard work.
Was Jesus Christ a racist?
Absolutely not. Jesus Christ, not only did he sit with
Are you
everyone.
sure he wasn't?
I'm absolutely sure.
Okay.
Not only did he sit with everyone, whether it's sinners, whether it's, prostitutes, Jesus Christ is the epitome of love. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what skin color you are. The Bible specifically says that there is no skin color or race. There's no Jew or Gentile in the kingdom of heaven. So when I see a lot of these ethno-nationalists making everything about race, I'm just thinking to myself, and plus they say that they're proclaiming Christianity. It's like, why are you making an idol of your race? You shouldn't be making an idol of anything, but your race is skin pigmentation that you cannot control. Make an idol of your culture, make an idol of your religion, make an idol of scripture, but a race, a skin pigmentation. I'm so sorry. For me personally, the only thing I'm committed to is getting into the kingdom of heaven. I don't really care about followers and, being platformed or whatever. My tunnel vision into getting to the kingdom of heaven. So if scripture says there's no Jew and there's no Gentile, I don't care if a racist, an ethno-nationalist calls me words and racist terms, I will never judge a white person. I don't care if a black leftist, attacks me and calls me racist terms, I will never judge black people. I don't believe in generalizing. It's not Christian.
Yeah, I asked that because if these Civats are attacking you all the time, calling you negro, overtly using the word when they see you, oh, it's my favourite African. We know what they're doing, we know what they mean by that.
Yeah.
So that's actually very un-Christian of them, and we're trying to restore Christian values within the UK. So they're sort of going against their own final goal.
Yeah, and not only are they going against Christian practices, but they're actually going against British practices. Like I said, a lot of people have this idea in their mind that before the British came and colonized a lot of these African and Asian countries, that it was just this utopian, this Wakanda utopian. No, there was a lot of tribal wars going on. There was a lot of infighting going on. There was a lot of murders going on. For example, in places like Nigeria, you had tribal wars where people were killing other people simply due to the fact that they were of a fairer complexion. You understand? Or you had people in India killing one another if they wasn't Hindu. It was the British that came and said, put an end to this. We believe in what the scripture says, which says there's no Jew and there's no Gentile. So the British actually came and they brought peace. They introduced this idea that it's actually not about race. It's about your character. It's about your culture. It's about your customs. So to see the ethno-nats now trying to reverse that, you're actually going against. Now, am I saying that, the British people who went out and colonized now want to see young girls being raped all over London and to see kebab shops and halal shops and to see their country completely being, unrecognizable? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that the British were very, very instrumental in ending this idea of race as the epitome of everything. Whether people believe that or not, I've studied their empire. They ended that. So to see people online trying to bring that back, you're going against what your ancestors introduced. So sorry.
No, I mean, I'm with you on every level. I think every foreign criminal needs to be deported. The Boris wave of migrant that flooded the country, they need to go back. Any foreigner that isn't contributing, that's sponging off the system, they need to go back. But anyone that doesn't come from England, that's come to England and they're making the country a better place and they're bringing love and harmony and different ideas, but they appreciate ours and know that our culture is top of the tier. So, but why would you not want these people here?
Like, why are you angry? It's so weird to me.
Would you? Here's a question then. So I do believe that the vast majority of the country should be white, British, Indigenous people.
As you should.
For me, the figure's definitely got to be in the 90% range. But for you, do you think there should be a cap, like a percentage cap of, okay, let's use colour. It's easy for people to understand on this, white, black, brown, yellow. Should there be a percentage of white people that should never go below?
Yeah, I think for me, my percentage would be like 80 because I would love to sit here and say 50, But once 50, it's two, if one person comes in, that can turn into 49 and then boom, you're demographically replaced. So I would say 70 to 80, and people will find that, controversial, but it's like that everywhere in the world. What a lot of the civic nationalists and the patriots who are out there, protesting, all they want to do is operate like every other country in the world, where the indigenous people are the majority, where the indigenous people are governing their land, where the indigenous people can say what they want without the threat of going to jail. The indigenous people want to be able to embrace their culture without having to being called a Nazi. So I think what the British want is to operate like every other country, whether it's China, Africa, Asia. The people are the majority and no one's fighting against that.
It also makes travel more interesting. I mean, so nobody can call me a hypocrite, because I think I would like to see, 90%, to keep it strong, solid, and the 10% of foreign bodies that come in have to be the cream of the crop, top tier, excellent beings that contribute like wonderment to the country. But that goes... I'm the same with another country, so I wouldn't want Africa to become 20, 30% white British. It's like, I want you to remain African, so when I go to Africa, I get to feel Africa.
I'm not sure if you've seen the TikToks of people who, they go to London and they was like, I thought I wanted to come to London, but I'm in Pakistan. It's completely unrecognizable. So, and this is what I try to promote on my platform, is that give the English people the fairness that you're giving everyone else. Because if this was to happen in Native America, if this was to happen in Africa, if this was to happen in Bangladesh, the whole world would be in an uproar. All the galaxies and the stars will literally stop spinning. But for some reason here in the UK, it's an abomination for an English person to say, no, actually, I don't want to be demographically replaced. I don't want my culture to disappear. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, whilst having millions of people fighting to live in their country. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with anyone saying that they want to keep a cap or they want to remain the majority. But I think it becomes wrong when you start to say that anyone and everyone who's not you is inherently a bad, evil person. And I get that a lot on X, where people paint me out to be this horrible person, like I'm Satan or something, for simply just loving the country. I do not like that. We should not generalize. But I do agree that we should have the best of the best people, because again, when you go out and travel, you want to experience that culture. And as much as I am British culturally, at the end of the day, if 90% of this country was like me, a Congolese British person, the reality is they would not be able to uphold British values and culture as authentically as an indigenous English person. That's the reality. I wouldn't be able to do that. I love this country and I know I'm British culturally, but I wouldn't be able to do it authentically, and that's just the reality.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Japan on vacation and see 30% of it like white honkies. Exactly. I come here to see the Japanese and how they roll.
Exactly.
I can stay at home and be with this lot.
Exactly.
So what differences do you see between Civats and Fnats?
Well, I think Civats are practical. They're logical. They're realistic. And they actually care about their country. They actually go out and do stuff. Whereas the ethno-nationalists, I think a lot of them just operate out of delusion. And I think the reason why they operate out of delusion is because anyone who is hyper-fixated on race, whether it's a leftist or whether it's a ethno-nationalist, you're in denial and you're retarded. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like a lot of the ethno-nationalists, they completely dismiss every other factor at play to why the country is in the state that it's in. They forget all the white people standing outside of hotels saying Afghan refugees are welcome here. They forget all the white policemen who literally covered up the grooming scandals. They forget the people sitting in Parliament who, have literally orchestrated this mass migration, multiculturalism nonsense. They just completely dismiss that. To them, it's just like, you're African, you need to go, you're the problem. And I just think that's realistic. Whereas the Civats, they hold the same position, but they can hold people accountable regardless of their race. They can hold Keir Starmer accountable. They can hold Stand Up to Racism accountable. I don't see the ethno-nationalists doing that. They're more hyper-fixated on, oh, based in Bougie, the African, and oh my gosh, the Jews are in control of everything, and are not actually hyperfixated on the bigger threats, which is the socialists, the Marxists, who, I'm sorry to say this, I don't say this to be offensive, but they are majority white, and I know this because I go out and I do the work. It blows my mind.
But they are.
Exactly.
They are.
It blows my mind that people actually think they can save England by sitting behind a screen and tweeting deport 20 times. No, go out and do the work and you'll be shocked to find out that, you know, the reality of it.
The stand up to racism mob and Antifa, they are the definition of white trash.
I'm not sure if you've seen the video of a guy. He was in an interview and he took off his Rolex before he was going into the interview. And when he began to be interviewed, he started saying tax the rich. So he took off his Rolex. Right? And I think if that's not symbolic of the stand up to racism leftists, I don't know what is. They're just a bunch of rich kids. They're just a bunch of rich kids who are not in touch with real life. And I kind of see the same similarities with the ethno-nationalists. I feel like a lot of them are just rich kids who've never really grown up around ethnic minorities like yourself or Tommy Robinson. So they are very just delusional to the reality of life and delusional to the fact that a person can be non-English and actually just be a normal, good person who's not out to get you.
I know you covered this in the first time you come on, but just briefly summarise, when your father moved from the Congo to the UK, just remind the audience of his journey and how he elevated himself.
Yeah. So he actually had to wait 4 years to come to the UK. His first job was actually cleaning Oxford Street. So he did that for a couple of years. Then he worked his way up into becoming a doctor. I don't know how many degrees or masters my dad has, but he has a lot. He knows 100 different languages. He's a very, very, very smart, intelligent man. I mean, if I'm as intelligent as I am, honestly, it's because of my dad. And he assimilated, he contributed. He actually learned English before he came to the country. You know, he always said the UK is where I'm going, the UK is where I'm going, the UK is where I'm going to have my first children. And he did exactly that. And now he's actually working in the medicine field and he's a very, very successful man. Never made excuses, never complained about racism, even though he did experience racism. And that's the thing. The racism my parents experience is completely different to what I'm experiencing, even though I'm not experiencing that. He's always put his head down. He's always respected the customs. You know, if there's a football match, he's there supporting England. If there's the Olympics, he's there supporting England. He loves it. He's more patriotic than me. So, phenomenal man. That's what he is.
Your dad learnt the language before he came here. He assimilated, he contributed, he turned into a patriot himself, and he's paid his way, he's paid tax, he's helped a hell of a lot of people. My dad was born and bred in the UK. He's beat up women, he's burgled houses, he's never worked a day in his life, he's never paid any tax, he's raped people, he's abused children, including me and others. So if we...
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's cool. Well, it's kind of not cool, but it is what it is. But it's such a good example of, well, which out of your dad and my dad, which one should be deported somewhere?
Exactly. Well, I'm sorry to say this, your dad.
Of course.
And
that's how we should base our morality on.
Yes.
And who we want to stay and who we want to go. My dad's born and raised here, white trash, filthy, honky bit of shit, if we're going to go down the racist term.
Yeah.
Put him on an island. Funny enough, he's on the Isle of Wight.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
he's languishing in a cell as we speak because of his despicable behaviour.
Exactly.
So yeah, your dad gets my vote over mine, and I don't care what colour they are.
And what you're seeing is exactly what I'm seeing today. You know, I see white people who are literally standing outside saying refugees are welcome here, Afghan refugees are welcome here. And I see people like Baraka Amuri, who is fighting for his life defending this country. I see people like Danny Roscoe. I see people like Wendell from Urban Scoop. Every time I see Wendell, he's carrying this big suitcase of wires and cameras and microphones. He's so committed. I see people like, I'm so sorry if I can't pronounce his name correctly, but is it Gurmat Singh?
Gurmat Singh.
Yeah. Defending this country. Shoaib, defending this country. I mean, what can you now come and tell me about us being inherently bad, you know? Now, do I believe in statistics? Absolutely. Do I believe that, okay, majority of a large percentage of Asian people are making up grooming gangs? Yes. Should we do something about it? Yes. Do I believe in the fact that, okay, Afghan men are, you know, assaulting women and we should do something about Afghan immigration? Yes. Do I believe that a lot of Africans and Caribbeans are making up a lot of the knife crime and theft? Should we do something about it? Yes. However, what I don't believe is completely excluding people and saying if you're white, if you're Asian, you have to go, because like the examples you've just shown with the comparison between your dad and my dad, there are good people. I mean, what world are we living in where we're actually going to sit here and say that every African person is a horrible person? What world is that? The British, in my personal opinion, would be disgusted in that, because they ended that type of mentality when they went to places like Africa and they saw all these tribal bloody wars going on. They were disgusted.
We put a stop to house Negroes.
Exactly. They ended slavery. Do you know what I mean? So
get no thanks for it though. Lemmy still wants reparations.
Exactly.
Like, mate, did you not get the memo that we was the ones that stopped that shit?
Exactly. But the reason why people don't believe that is because they've never really done real research about the empire. They've just been given propaganda. Oh, the British owned slaves and da-da-da, and that's it, full stop. And they don't talk about all the other goods that came out of it. So yeah, I just don't believe in generalising people, full stop.
So playing devil's advocate, can a non-white person be British? And how?
I think a non-white person can be culturally British. I don't believe a non-white person can be indigenously British or ancestrally British, if I said that correctly. But culturally, absolutely, I'm culturally British. And I get a lot of backlash online when I call myself British. It's actually quite hilarious. People are always like, you're not British, you're not British. And it's just like, I don't know about you, but when I hear a non-English person calling themselves British, they're barely saying that their parents were the first people to conquer this country. They're barely saying that their grandfather was Cecil Rhodes and their uncle was Churchill when they created British values. And whoever is doing that needs to stop immediately, because it's disgusting. You shouldn't eradicate people's culture and history. But what they are referring to is their culture and customs, and that's it, full stop. What are you arguing about? You know what I mean? And they always use the example of, well, if a Somali goes to China, and are they now Chinese? Indigenously, no. When they look in the mirror, they can see they are not Chinese, but culturally, born there, raised there, educated there, their friends are Chinese. That's all they know. That's the only air they breathe. Culturally, yes, they are. You know, you don't see people saying, oh, the South African Boers need to stop calling themselves South Africans. You don't need to remind them. They can look in the mirror and they can see that indigenously they are Dutch and German. But in terms of their culture, they call themselves South African because they've been there for years and that's the culture they've adopted. You don't need to remind them. So when I see people online writing all these paragraphs about, oh, you're not British, and sitting in their bedroom making dumb videos about, oh, based on Bougie can't be British, I'm just like, you're wasting your time, because I'm not here to proclaim myself as the British Queen. I'm not here to have my face in every penny and pound and say I'm the first person to invent British values. What I'm referring to simply is just the culture that I've adopted. That's what I am.
Yeah, you've got the attitude of the people that say, you know, if a horse born in a kennel doesn't make him a dog and stuff like that. But it's the culture for me. It's the mentality.
Yeah, and they also try to use the like trans example. Well, can a man be a woman? Well, absolutely not. You can't use that example, because a man is denying his physical appearance when he's calling himself a woman. When you see maybe Indians or British calling themselves British, they're hardly referring to their appearance. They're hardly referring to their ancestry. And if they are, I will quickly correct them. I've had plenty of people at protests saying, you're just as English as me. And I'm like, hold up, I'm not English. I'm not even indigenously British, but culturally I am. Let's correct that. And I think what people also need to understand, going back to history, which I've studied, the term British derives from the term Bretons. The term Bretons was used to describe the indigenous Anglo-Saxon people that we know today as the English people. When the Bretons, not the Africans, not the Indians, but the Bretons, the Anglo-Saxons, decided they want to start this project to go out and colonize, and trade and modernize, they had to create a distinction between the people and the project. The people are the English, the Anglo-Saxons. The project is the British Empire. So for the last, 5 centuries, the term British, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it's shape-shifted. It has. It's meant anyone who contributed to the empire, anyone who's a part of the empire. So when I'm seeing people confused that I'm calling myself British, I'm confused why they're confused, because it's been like this for the last few centuries, not because I decided that, but because the indigenous Britons wanted to make a distinction between this is our race, this is our people, and this is the project called the empire. We're going to call it the British Empire.
So for you, you're not inherently British.
Yeah.
But you're culturally British.
Not indigenously English, not ancestrally English. I am indigenously Congolese, specifically from the Tetela tribe. That's where I'm from. But culturally, That's why I am. Born here, raised here. This is the only country I'm familiar with. This is the only air I'm familiar with. This is the only culture I'm the most familiar with. Sometimes my own friends call me whitewashed. Why am I going to sit here and lie? You know what I mean? I think that's what people need to understand about Based and Bougie, is that if you're expecting me to just nod my head to everything, you're not going to get that, you know? I can disagree with leftists, but I can also disagree with patriots as well. It's not personal. I don't hate you, but if I feel like, you know, what you're saying isn't too right, or you're being a bit unrealistic with yourself, I'm going to let you know.
And what are your thoughts on remigration?
So when people say remigration, are they saying that they want people who are born here to go back?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
Well, I think the people who...
If you're not inherently British and you're born here, are you for it, against it? If so, how far back would you go? What would be the logistics of it?
I'm for remigrating people who haven't contributed, who haven't integrated, who continuously show a hatred towards this country. It's very easy to tell. If someone has been on universal credit for 20 years, you need to go. If someone is planning to bomb Oxford Street and we know they're on the terrorist watch list or they're sitting in our jails, you need to go. If someone has made a tweet or social media post making fun of Britain and saying you're not getting your country back, you need to go. But for the people who have, again, like my dad, and I'm not saying this because he's just my dad, I know plenty of examples and so do you, but for the people who are born here and raised here and love the country, contributed, I don't see why they need to go. And it's the people, and I see them everywhere, who literally have a hatred for this country, and it's disgusting. So I just a tiny bit understand why there is this rise of ethnonationalism, because what I saw at the pro-Palestine march completely shocked me. People dragging me around, people trying to strangle me, people trying to steal my phone, and then they're allowed to be in the country. Nah, you need to go. So yeah, I'm all for remigrating people who are not contributing anything to the country. Yeah.
What about your political home? Are you politically homeless, or have you got somewhere now?
I'm politically homeless.
Still?
Yeah, because I have quite a huge following, and I know if I say I'm going to support this party and I change my mind, it may lead to a confusion. But I can see pros and cons in every party right now. I'm a bit upset that there is so much division, I cannot lie, and I'm a bit upset with... If I was to vote for anyone at the moment, it would be probably Rupert Lowe, but I'm just very, very, very disappointed in him in not actually just simply merging with Ben Habib. I'm so sorry, I cannot wrap my mind around how you would have a strong voter base if you merged with Ben Habib, but yet every day you wake up and you're still not doing it. I find that a little bit suspicious. This is not me calling him out or saying he's a terrible person. I love what he's done, especially with the grooming work. I respect reform as well. I have my reservations about reform, but one thing I do admire about reform is they are serious. They are tunnel vision. You know, you don't create change on the streets, even though it's, you know, productive. But at the end of the day, you create change by being an organisation, and they've done a successful job at that. But at the same time, I do appreciate Advance UK as well. Ben Habib, selfless man. I mean, not even 24 hours, and he was already ready to give up his position to support Restore UK.
Yeah.
So I can see pros and cons in every party, and I'm still politically homeless, I would say that. I don't want to jump the gun and be one of those people who are always party hopping. It's quite embarrassing.
I'm the same. I'm politically homeless, and I won't be jumping in. I'll be taking a step back, and I'll just be watching how things play out.
Yeah.
But I'll be watching like a hawk.
Me too.
The first sign of dishonesty or mistrust or we're being lied to, again, I'm straight back to fuck you. I don't want to be lied to.
Yeah.
None of us want to be lied to. That's my biggest bone of contention. Have you got any non-negotiables politically? For example, Islam within Parliament, swearing your oath on the Quran, or having MPs that are affiliated to paedophilia. These are extreme examples, but they're examples that have actually happened. We've got the Labour Party that are affiliated to God knows how many sex cases, and we have had people get sworn into Parliament on the Quran. For me, they're both non-negotiables, that should not happen. Christian country, wholesome country, we don't want links to either of those or give them that much power and influence.
I 100% agree with you. The world is laughing at us. The fact that someone can swear on the Quran in Parliament is insane to me. Like, we've officially been colonized, and people will say, well, that's racist. How can you say that? Well, look at most Muslim countries and then come back to me and say, why would you say that? But if I was to have it my way and to design the perfect, Parliament, I would say that the majority of people have to be experienced in politics. I'm seeing a lot of people creating political parties, and it's not really filled with politicians. It's just filled with YouTubers who know how to speak well and just use big words. Not interested. I want real politicians. I believe they have to be 90% indigenously English, because this is England. This is English land. And if you are going to be someone who is in parliament who is non-English indigenously, you have to be like a Ben Habib. Ben Habib has proven himself time and time again to put the country first. We barely hear him talk about Pakistan. You know, he's experienced. And it would be, everything will come back to Christianity. The constitution will be built back to Christianity. We don't care about socialism. We don't care about the Equality Act. We don't care about multiculturalism. Everything will be centered around Christianity. And if that was to happen, my God, will this country become great again.
Are you going to continue to fight, irrespective of the backlash you've been receiving of late? Imagine if it gets worse. Is it going to bother you, faze you?
You never know until you're in that position. But for me, I can't see myself ever not fighting. For me, I'm someone where I prefer dangerous freedom than peaceful slavery. I'm someone where I can't have someone just tell me to do something unless you're giving me a proper logical reason why. So I see myself continuously fighting the fight. And I don't care if the far left attack me. I don't care if the far right ethno-nationalists attack me. I love this country. I will defend it till the death of me. If I ever stop, it's not because someone told me to, it's because I chose to. And yeah, I'm going to continue to fight the good fight. I love this country. It's given me everything. You know, the first time I went Congo, that's when my gratitude for this country actually increased. Like, what we have is truly magnificent. And if we lose that, and if we let that slip, we will turn into another one of these third world shitholes. And I don't want that. I don't want people to have the same upbringing that my parents have of just struggle and poverty and inequality. You don't want that. You know, so I encourage people, before you support a party, look at their ideologies, research the ideology, look at the history of that ideology, and you'll realize most of the ideologies are actually demonic. And yeah, I'm going to continue to fight for this country. And another thing, I don't do this for support. Like I said, I have a comfortable life. I have a cushy life. I have a very happy life. My life is filled with so much love. So I don't have to do this. I do this because it's necessary.
Yeah, why do you do what you do?
What's
the driving force?
I do what I do because as a Christian, we have a responsibility to be truthful. And we have a responsibility to ensure that people are not being led by lies and the plans of the devil. And I don't want to go into, you know, everything because we'll be here for hours. But what is being pushed? Socialism, Marxism, Islamism, LGBTQism, these are all demonic. If you go look at the history of these things, they are demonic. They are evil. They are just there to create this even playing field where no one has a culture, no one has a religion, just this plain blank country where anyone can easily fall under any demonic ideology. If you want someone to fall under an demonic ideology, you have to erase everything. People's heritage, people's history, people's culture, people's religion, people's families. That's a big thing, breaking down families. And I don't want that. So that's what I do.
And what's the Congo like? And how often do you go back there?
Oh gosh, Congo, I'm so sorry. It's a failed state. It's very. I've only ever been there once, and I was there for 3 weeks. I think the reason why most African cities, sorry if I'm rambling on, but the reason why a lot of African cities are failed states, it's not because Africans are low IQ or Africans are inferior. It's because most African countries operate out of just fraud and corruption. Everything is fraud. Corruption is fraud. You can buy your way into parliament. You can buy your way through another border. You know, everything is corruption and fraud, literally. You know, and when you build a system that is founded on just corruption and fraud, you have a failed state. And this is what I try to warn people about, you know, because the UK is slowly becoming that. It's becoming corrupt and it's becoming fraudulent. You're seeing all these lawyers happy to see white girls getting raped and groomed for the right price. You're seeing all these NHS staff. I'm so sorry to say this, but most of these NHS staff, their children did their coursework for them. They don't have a clue what they're doing in the NHS, you know, corruption and fraud. So this is why you see in the UK, things are not working anymore the way they used to. The roads are not working, NHS is not working, education system is not working, because behind the scenes is people just paying their way through things. And we need to go back to what Britain used to be, where people done things with integrity and honesty and followed laws, followed customs, were organized. And that's how you would have a structured state. So Africa is not in the state that it's in because of colonialism or black people are inferior. It's because it operates off of just corruption and fraud. And it just needs to stop.
And what would you say to all the non-white people out there that think we're at war with each other?
We're not at war with one another. You're only at war if you make it a war thing. That's just where I am. If your constant mentality is always racism this, racism that, Nazism this, that's all you will see. And when you decide to completely remove that and just look at people honestly, you know, for most of my life, I thought Tommy Robinson was racist until I sat down and watched his interview and looked at him honestly. You'll realize none of these things mean anything. Like, judge people for who they exactly are, their morals, how they act, what they say, their culture, the customs, and that's it.
I think the Fnats have done Tommy a favour because the Fnats don't like Tommy because he isn't racist. Exactly. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
And the world's watching.
Yeah, and I've actually noticed the same pattern with Reform. I feel like, I don't think Rupert Lowe is racist. I don't think the people around him are racist. Well, we will never know. But because so many of his followers, specifically on X, are so like racist and like, I hate to even use the word racist. Anyone who knows me knows I hate that term. But it is racism. If you're sitting here and you're saying I'm inferior and I have a low IQ because I'm black, you are racist. But it's kind of put people off Restore. Like, I know a lot of people behind the scenes who would have supported Rupert Lowe if he had a political party, but are deciding not to because his little fan base of neo-Nazis, and they are neo-Nazis. I'm not talking about Rupert Lowe. I'm not talking about the people behind him who are, you know, a part of the party, but just those little, you know, ethno-nats online. They're making the party Restore, even though it may not be in terms of its foundations and principles and their manifesto, look very, very racist and almost making Reform look like, you know, a normal civ-nac party. So I think, you know, I did see a video from Connor Tomlinson saying that it's not our duty to correct what other people are saying. We're not going to do that. We don't care. But I personally think that they should, because right now it's not really looking good for the party unless somebody actually says, we don't condone this, we don't condone that, full stop. It's always going to look that way, because the reality of it is people don't look at manifestos. People are not going to go through websites and read 118-page spreads. People are always going to look at the image of the party and who are the players in the game of the party. And if it's just filled with people saying these Africans need to go and these Africans need to do and doxing people's family, yeah, it's putting people off. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to ask the Nationalists watching this, because they now pay great interest to me since having Steve Laws on. And what they didn't realise is I didn't debate Steve Laws. I just asked him questions just to see how far to the right he is. Mm-hmm. And then they'd comment saying, oh, he run rings around you. It's like there wasn't an opportunity to run rings around me. Mm-hmm. We didn't debate. We didn't get into like facts and figures and history. And I just wanted to find out where he was on the political spectrum. Mm-hmm. But they were too daft to realise that I wasn't going to. Now's not the time to debate Fnats, I don't think, because the country is in such decline. They've got a very good point. And like I say, I think I'm somewhere between Civ-nat and Fnat. They call it nationalism, and they've had to put the F in front of it because of the Civ side of things. All very confusing. But a question I asked on X, which got ignored. So a lot of the nationalists are now behind Restore Britain. So you're watching, so I'll ask you direct and put it in the comments. If Rupert Lowe, Restore Britain, starts taking on non-British MPs or putting people in positions of power that are half Pakistan, half African, full African, foreign bodies, are you going to stick with the party, or are you going to turn your back on him and go back to, I suppose, being politically homeless because there's no party that's just going to toe the white-only line? So what are you going to do if that happens? Because it will happen. This, we have to face reality here.
They'll probably leave, which would be so unfortunate, because your one and only opportunity to even get close to what you want, which is remigration or whatever it might be, you've now dismissed that because of skin colour. And it's the same thing that they're doing with Tommy Robinson. Like, if someone like Steve Laws just decided, okay, let me side with Tommy Robinson because at least I can get at least an inch closer to what I want. That's a very smart individual. But he's decided to oppose Tommy Robinson, blame him for, oh my gosh, she's being funded by the Jews. It's just pretty much like nitpicking at him 24/7. And I remember when I was at the Christmas festival, I remember Tommy Robinson was talking about how he did not like Christianity. He hated Christianity because the church turned on him during the grooming scandal. But it was Bob of Speaker's Corner that actually worked with him and taught him scripture, taught him the Bible, and that's what brought him closer to Christianity. That's how you go about things. You don't go about things by dissing people online, making fun of them, making up rumors, if you really want. But the fact that they don't understand that, or maybe they do understand that, but they don't want to do it, just goes to show their heart is not in the right place. So when I see people like Steve Laws, I don't believe his heart is in the right place. I don't believe he genuinely cares for the country because, for one, he turns into Stevie Wonder when it's time to actually go out and do something.
Isn't he lovely?
And two, you know, someone who really cares will prioritize strategy, will prioritize who can I work with? Like, what is the bigger picture here? But they don't do that because everything to them is about skin color, skin color, skin color. And if that's how you choose to live your life, I'm so sorry, you're a retard.
And also since this whole FNAT thing has risen, I've looked into a few of them, and you've got another group of people that think Steve Laws is very mild. And they don't think he's a true nationalist.
Really?
Yeah. And there's one in particular. I'll tell you off camera because I'm not going to give him the clout because I can't stand him. I will invite him on and him I will challenge because he's full of hatred. I'm not convinced Steve Laws is full of hatred. I think he's trying to shift the Overton window so far, but it comes across very hateful on X. And sometimes I think, fucking hell, why you know, he has an argument, but then he ends it with you're a piece of shit. It's like,
and that's my thing is that you can want remigration, you can want mass deportation, you can want to not be demographically replaced. But why are you going about it in such a demonic way? Do you know what I mean? There's so many ethno-nationalists I have great conversations with online. There's one ethno-nationalist everyone should follow, by the way. His name is 𝐼𝐿𝐿oid. He does great work on the shores of France and we have normal conversations.
Does he tell you you're going home?
He doesn't say that. He just lets me know that he doesn't want... the conversation I had with him face to face is that he doesn't want non-white people to be the face of nationalism. That's what he wants. He wants the English to do that. And I agree with that. With me doing what I'm doing, I'm not doing it because I want to have my face in every penny and pound and be the Queen of England. I'm doing what I'm doing because I just want to wake up people and get people to be more patriotic and protective of this country. Yes, my videos do go viral, but that's not much I can do about it. But I'm not doing this because I want to be the Queen of England. But yeah, going back to the point, you can want these things, but when you go about it in such a nasty way, it turns people off. People are not interested. People are not going to take you seriously. And then the nerve of these ethno-nationalists to be online saying, nobody wants to platform us. Nobody wants to platform you because it's you're a retard. Who wants to sit across someone who is just disrespectful all the time?
I mean, fancy platforming an FNAT.
Exactly. Nobody wants to. So, again, I agree with 90% of his views. I just don't agree with the nastiness. I just think it's unnecessary. And if your commitment is just being nasty to people, it just goes to show that you're not really serious about the country.
Yeah, I think they need to change their approach because it dismisses the message. And they have got some good points. And you could have a very good back and forth debate and get some kind of understanding. But yeah, just immediately insulting people is fucking insane. Yeah. But what would your final message be to people listening?
My final message to people would be, this country is absolutely great. You know it, I know it. Everything that we have benefited from, this country has built. And I think that people should be more patriotic and protective about it. Doesn't matter your skin color or skin tone, just be protective of this country that you are choosing to live in every day. And I will continue to fight the fight. I don't care who it offends. I don't care if there's the far left socialists who are offended by it. If it's the far right ethno-nationalists who are offended by it, you can respectfully suck your mum. Don't care. Love this country. Will continue to defend it with my life. And you should too.
And if you think people you don't agree with should suck their mum, I'm going to put Based and Bougie's links in the description. YouTube, X, Instagram, the lot. She's great. You'll love her work. And like and subscribe to this channel, please, so I can keep bringing these conversations where we can speak and think completely freely without judgment. But But you stay safe and look after yourself. And thanks for coming on again. And I would well imagine there'll be a part 3 down the line.
Thank you so much for even part 1. If I've never thanked you enough, that really exploded the platform and the message. So I'm very grateful.
Ain't no goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Good health, face.
Thank you. You
Cheers.
too.